If your ultimate goal is to survive, then you will be just another subject in the matrix where you yourself will see to it that you toil and boil to make ends meet. Or if your goal is to thrive in the most superficial way, then you will do just about anything to get that money or status at any cost. But both of these things are wrong and destructive in their own way, because you don't want to be stuck. You don't want to trap yourself in a life where you have to overwork yourself just to get a scrap of money and shelter. And you sure don't want a life where you have to sell your soul just to get some toys to display on your land or the ocean. You know you don't have to do that, because you don't want to be at a job where it is mentally and physically torment, or you don't want to accept an unfair deal, an off-balance exchange of your soul for these few toys that you're going to be bored with soon enough anyways. Because there is another way. There's another way that you can achieve and get all these things that you want in life without being pressured to give a disproportionate amount of your time and energy just to get these things. And in this video, we will talk about why it is important, why it's crucial for you to risk everything in life, and how that very action will trigger all the blessings in your life. But before we do that, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, here on this channel I talk about how you can find your passion and go after it at any age, how you can find balance even at the most difficult times in your life, and how you can be happy with the things and the people you already have surrounding you. So if you're interested, make sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Also, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up to spread the message. So point number one is to allow your evolution. So your time here on earth should not be filled with a to-do list of striving to attain, to achieve all these superficial goals and dreams that don't evolve over time. You should by now, start dreaming and visualizing and imagining of higher goals. You should develop, a taste for higher and refined thoughts and ideas. And you should just push yourself to have a different perspective, a different approach to life, where you now start to rearrange and realign your priorities that reflect these changes that are taking place within you, because that is an important part of your evolution. And these things are later going to give you the result. They're going to give you the different and new outcomes to match your new and evolved self. This is the way to do it. So there should be room in your life for new things. You should allow for change in your thoughts, your ideas, your beliefs, your interests, your people, the people that you hang out with. These things should not be a block for your new interests in life, for your new endeavor in life, because that's why we're here. We're here to evolve. And if our life, if the structure, if the life that we've built up to now is just becoming this block, so that we're not able to move past these things, we're just so in the familiar and we are so comfortable in our ways, and there is no room for us to change and evolve and grow and develop new skills and all these things, then there is no point to life. It's just going to be a matter of time before we find this life to be so suffocating. So it's up to us to allow change. And the way that your current life is being a block to your new life is through the things that you're doing day in, day out. It could be through the people that you're surrounding yourself with. It could be through all these things that you're exposing yourself to, which then become, your dominant thoughts and your beliefs. It could be your own beliefs that you already have. And all these things, you need to work on them, and you need to be able to evolve out of them if you are going to achieve something worthwhile in your life. In fact, it's the only way for you to move forward, because you're not going to be able to change your life where you are so adamant about keeping the status quo. You want to keep everything in your life. You want to stay in your comfort zone and nothing changes. And this is why it's up to you to be the change. It's up to you to affect change by allowing new things in your life, by facing your fears, by being able to let go and just move past all these things that are now making you miserable, because sometimes we can be addicted to our own misery. We can be addicted to our own problems, addicted to a sickness. And it's weird, but we have that tendency as human beings that we can be addicted to the things that are most destructive to us. And unless you are willing to allow for change, even though it's uncomfortable, it's painful sometimes, but being brave enough to allow for drastic change to take place in our lives becomes the only way. And if you are serious about following your dreams and living in your purpose, there's a template down in the description below to help you get started in this very process now. It's totally free. You just need to click the link down there. So point number 2 is to allow your creativity to flourish. Now, this may come with a lot of challenge and difficulties because your creative endeavors will not immediately pay off like your day job. But with the magic of patience, not only is there a huge potential to monetize your talents if that's what you want, but this will be the most fulfilling thing you ever do in your life. Because you're not doing this just for the money or survival, but instead for its pure joy. This is something untethered to the surface level and short-lived excitement of your successes and achievements, mostly done to prove yourself in some manner. But this is an enduring and deeply fulfilling activity that can only be found in your creative process. And this is why it's important for you to start looking within you, to search for these things that you're passionate about. Maybe they are dormant within you. Maybe you haven't been able to exercise them in years. Maybe this is something that you've always wanted to do, or you were good at as a child, or it's something that you wish you could do, but you have no time as an adult because you have to survive and make ends meet. And now, as part of you being brave and taking the risk, taking the plunge to see what you can do, outside of this structure, outside of this script that was written for you ever since you were a child, sometimes even before you were born, now you are taking charge. You are taking your power back, you're taking your life back, and see what you can do. And your creativity is, the biggest avenue, the biggest thing that you can dive into, that you can tap into in order to see what you can come up with, and see if there is a possibility that you can spend time doing the things that you love and also maybe earn a living through that. Because if that's not the case, what ends up happening is that you will be subordinating all your interests, your talents, all these things that you really want to do for the thing that you don't want to do, just because that's what you believe is your only means for survival. And that can be a difficult life, because then that becomes your way of life, that becomes your career, that becomes something that you totally rely on. And with that, all these talents and gifts that were bestowed upon you wither and die. And in order for you to prevent this from happening, you're going to have to take a risk in life. And it should be a calculated risk, because you don't want to lose everything and become like those crazy artists who live with rat-infested apartments. But what you want to do is you want to have the courage to at least look into these talents, to at least keep that fire going on while you are, making a living. But anyways, there should be a part of you that is willing to take the risk and to be courageous enough to go for the things that you want, even though there might be some risks involved. So point number 3 is to come face to face with the empty nature of your worldly gains. So just end your suffering by liberating yourself from the bondage of money and status. You have to stop being a slave to something that's not even powerful enough to enslave you. Because honestly, in this one, you are a willing participant, because no one's forcing you to stay at a dead-end job endlessly. I mean, you might have to do it for a while, but doing it forever, is a choice. And also, no one's forcing you to spend your life chasing money and get that money, only to find out in the end that there were so many other avenues that you could have gotten that money through. In fact, you will only truly enjoy the money that you have after the fact that you've understood that the level of pleasure your money is able to give you equals to the value you put on yourself. Otherwise, it's just going to keep on being a source of your misery, even after having lots and lots of it. And you just need to open your eyes. You just need to look around. Look at the people who seem to have it all. They have millions and millions, and in deeper inspection, you just need to look into their lives and you will see that they are more miserable and sad and unfulfilled, unhappy. They're in a worse situation than people with zero money. Now, I'm not saying that you don't need money in life. Obviously, you do. But I'm saying that you don't need it to be happy. You don't need it to be fulfilled, because the only happiness you'll have is that happiness that you'll cultivate within you, regardless of what's happening out there. And the only fulfillment you will get in life is through the things that we talked about earlier, your creativity, your passion, your purpose in life. So you need money, but you don't need it for these things. These are the things that you have to cultivate within you, that you have to do on your own pace, your own time. And the survival aspect of it comes from you being part of this world, the human experience. So you have to find a way to balance these two. And if you're courageous enough to go for the things you want to live in your purpose, then you'll have the perfect balance of having enough money to survive and enjoy your life, and at the same time living in your purpose, which is the best kind of life.